And whenever you're ready, I'll start the prompter.
Hello, my name is James Trost, and this is A2 Insight. Today's episode consists of highlights from Season 1 of our series. It's been over a year since our first edition, and for those that haven't seen the actual full episodes, our hope is that by learning more about each episode, you will go to our YouTube channel and see the full 30-minute interviews. So, let's begin the journey of visitors to the set here at CTN with our first interview, dealing with the unfortunate, increasingly frustrating and growing problem of addiction in our community. Vince Swain, a certified addiction counselor with Dawn Farm, enlightened us with an amazing story of his life and career after confronting his own addictions. While working for over 15 years in the field of addiction, Mr. Swain has worked with helping youth, jail inmates, and members of the homeless community. Our discussion, near the end, dealt with his perception of the future of addiction and possible breakthroughs that may help us as a community deal more effectively with this plague. Technology, anything? I mean, what from your experience is hopeful about the future of addiction in this community?
I think it's well, what we know about the disease of addiction is like leap years ahead of what it used to be. Mm-hmm. You know, it's really not that long ago, within the last 20 years, that we've gotten more of the science in place. And I think that's an important piece, I think, for the future of anyone receiving services. Now, with that being said, I think that if you look at the history of addiction at all, historically, it's been sort of cyclical. You know, there's been moments where there's been these great changes and great services and supports, and then they sort of withered away and come back. Consistency, the thing that I've seen consistent is that people who have this disease, you know, at some point began to understand the validity of what it means to manage your life with this disease. Mm-hmm. So because of the science, because of services that still exist, and unfortunately it's few and far between, but again, this is sort of cyclical too. Mm-hmm. I think one of the things that's exciting is that the communities we live in now are becoming more progressive, and not just Washtenaw County, but all over the world. The communities have become very, very progressive of having a voice, voices of recovery. All of these different communities that are functioning at on a larger scale. Mm-hmm. You know, they're connecting not just one small community, but all communities together. And so I think that part of, if you understand this disease, it's not just a physical aspect, but there's a mental, spiritual, right? And so just as much as there's a stigma of what an alcoholic, a drug addict is, or what a criminal is, right? There's also a lot of the fear of the unknown, you know? Sure. And I think that what's sort of happening, you're seeing it on television, you're seeing it on radio, you're seeing it in films, you're seeing it all over the place, is that slowly people are starting to put out there that it's okay to be in recovery. It's not a bad thing. Mm-hmm. And I think that progression has been the hugest leap. The science and the understanding that a recovering community can be a very, very powerful thing. Mm-hmm. And so and I'm hoping this is also, you know, where you're headed toward, and you know.
Our next episode was the first in a series of discussions with current and hopeful local politicians. Jaime Beguera, trying for a second time to unseat current City Council member Jack Eaton in Ann Arbor's 4th Ward, discussed his vision for what he hopes could be the future of our community in the coming years. Okay. Mr. Beguera came up a little short this time in his bid for City Council and was defeated by our next guest, Council Member Jack Eaton, in a segment related to the never-ending discussions of a possible expansion or creation of a new railroad station in Ann Arbor. Councilman Eaton highlights some of the frustrations he's had while dealing with city officials and getting answers to his questions concerning problems with the process, apparently to no avail. The nonprofit world was the topic with our next guest, John Fike, President of Philanthropy Solutions and Adjunct Professor in the Political Science Department at Eastern Michigan University. Mr. Fike discusses the mission of his organization and challenges facing the nonprofit world. Our next guest, Emeritus U of M Professor George Whelan, brings alive Ann Arbor history and the contributions of German immigrants to this area beginning in the 1830s while discussing his book about German life in Ann Arbor. Like other immigrant groups in history coming to the Ann Arbor area, Germans were no strangers to animus and challenges in earlier times, particularly during the First World War. Roy Wetzel, former NBC executive and U of M graduate, and his wife discuss a growing trend in Ann Arbor these days, retired folks moving back to Ann Arbor and enjoying their golden years here, and motivations for their return, mainly due to more housing options downtown and this couple's U of M graduates' love for classical music. Sally Hart Peterson, former Ann Arbor City Council member and mayoral candidate, currently an appointed member of an Economic Advisory Commission, discusses her vision for the economic future of Ann Arbor. The challenges of running a print magazine publication in today's world of digital media and the internet are explored with Ann Arbor Observer editor John Hilton. The Ann Arbor local residential real estate market was the discussion with our next guest, Jane Tharp, giving us insight into some of the hot and upcoming markets in Ann Arbor and the surrounding communities. As society struggles how to best address the challenges of substance abuse disorders and criminal activity, Sheriff Jerry Clayton gives us his take on what he hopes to accomplish with this population in the coming years from a law enforcement perspective, and the recent millage passage providing more funding to work with the mentally challenged and substance abuse disorders in our community. Continuing on the theme of how best we can serve the increasing numbers of those suffering from addiction, youthful advocates at Eastern Michigan University discuss their methods and plans to help reach a younger audience to avoid longer-term consequences of substance abuse in elder populations. Justin Jajeski and Amber Horowitz of Students for Recovery at EMU. Our final episode of 2017 brings together one major theme of the challenges we face as a community dealing with both substance abuse and mental health. Washtenaw County Community Mental Health Executive Director Trish Cortez gives us her take on what she hopes her leadership will accomplish to those in this community struggling with mental health issues in the next 5 years. Well, these are just a few special moments from our 2017 A2 Insight program. We hope you've enjoyed watching, and feel free to see completed editions of A2 Insight at our YouTube channel under the same name, and watch new episodes now in 2018 on Channel 17 here at CTN. For A2 Insight, I'm James Trost. Until next time. Well,
Nice.
mhm.
I think you read the teleprompter like a champ. Like, a lot of times people like will struggle with keeping up with it and stuff. Do you want to